Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, broadcasting on Channels Television live from Lagos. Today's Eyewitness is a video our contributor describes as an unimaginable situation. Take a look. In the quest for an end to flood mishaps, this is not what we as citizens and government should accommodate. It shows a drain under the Berger Bridge in Ifo local government area of Ogun State filled to the brim, probably a problem caused by indiscriminate dumping of refuse. Our Eyewitness reporter wonders how long this has been left unattended to by its urgent authorities that they need to work on this in order to prevent the situation from escalating into something bigger. Thanks for sending in that video, and thank you for reminding us those little things that we seem to ignore in the environment. To other stories, now the River State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal sitting in Abuja has dismissed the motion filed by Governor Nyesom Wike challenging the power of the tribunal to sit in Abuja instead of Port Harcourt, the River State capital. In its ruling, the tribunal headed by Justice Muazu Bindiga held that the motion filed by the governor and his party, the People's Democratic Party, lacked merit and substance. Governor Wike and his party had filed an application challenging the powers of the President of the Court of Appeal to allow the tribunal to sit in Abuja instead of the state where the election in dispute was conducted. However, in his ruling, Justice Bindiga held that the tribunal has not violated any provision of the law since the relocation to Abuja was based on security reasons. The All Progressives Congress in River State and its candidates in the April 11 governorship election, Mr. Dakuku Peter's side, had dragged the Independent National Electoral Commission, the PDP, and the state governor before the tribunal to challenge his victory in the election. Well, African trade unionists say increasing wave of insurgency across Africa has created huge unemployment and made the implementation of cross-border trade agreements difficult for member states. According to the factional president of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Comrade Ayuba Waba, who's hosting the ongoing conference of the International Trade Union Confederation in Abuja, insurgency has shut down businesses and has forced workers out of their jobs. The unionists are also saying that governments in Africa should look inwards to find solutions to their socio-economic problems.
This is a gathering of labor and trade unionists across Africa with representatives from member states to discuss how insecurity has affected the implementation of the cross-border trade agreement and relationships. First was the host, the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Mr. Ayuba Waba, who said that the recent wave of insurgency has increased the number of unemployment in the continent.
It is true that insurgency have assumed also a very dangerous dimension, especially in Africa, and particularly in the West African sub-region and part of East Africa. And therefore, a lot of workers have been affected and there are casualties. The whole of the sum totality of the challenge in Africa has to do with socio-economic issues. Issues of corruption, which have reduced resources that are available for development to create job opportunities for our people, is at the heart of those challenges.
The unionists also believe that the security situation across member countries have also hampered on the implementation of cross-border trade agreements, as most countries adopt security policies that restrict migration.
If you look at it in the global economy, they are allowing capitals, investment, financial flows to move and to circulate all over the world. We also say that this should be followed by also people's capacity to move everywhere. And if we look at what is happening now in the migration issue, we can only criticize governments and states' position. We can only say that this kind of policy, putting security forward and before everything else, is jeopardizing, of course, development economy, but also development of people themselves.
The Deputy President of the International Trade Union Confederation for Africa, Mr. Kashun Folo, also said that the Congress is working to see how Africa's socio-economic ties with member countries can be strengthened.
I2C Africa is want to strengthen the African economy by Africans, and also to strengthen the human and the trade union rights in the respective countries.
Insecurity and its effect on African trade unionism, as well as the challenges of cross-border trade relationships, are amongst the many issues at the front burner at this meeting.
As the federal government prepares to investigate the chemical leakage at the Laminga water treatment plant in Jos, the Plateau State government is also set to constitute a committee to look into the cause of the incident, which has left many dead. Governor Simon Lalong told journalists after visiting the treatment plant that the state government's investigation will help guard against a recurrence.
The dust is yet to settle on the chlorine cylinder leakage incident at the Lamingo water treatment plant located along Dogon Karfe Abattoir Bukuru Expressway in Jos. The poisonous gas that filtered into the neighboring houses in the dead of night left many dead. Empty cylinders are what the Plateau State Governor is left to see.
It is very unfortunate. We are moving from one challenge to the other. We are daring to deal with insurgency, and all of a sudden we are beginning to witness a case of chemical explosion. It's something that I'm sure this is the first time it's happening in this state. So it is a thing of great concern to us in government. That's why I am here on a visit, because when it happened, we wanted first to save lives. We were battling to save lives, and now that a lot of people were saved, unfortunately, we lost about 8. So may their souls rest in peace.
Thank you. Though some of the affected victims treated for respiratory ailments after the incident have been discharged from the hospitals, some are still on admission at Our Lady of Apostles, Plateau State Specialist Hospital, as well as the Bingham Teaching Hospital.
I tried to open the back door. When I opened it, the smell, it was much. Even the dog wanted to come in. So before I know it, my little baby now started crying.
It's known that in some people, those respiratory symptoms start later on. And we would have wished that all of them were admitted at least for observation over time, so that we could check their respiration, sometimes take x-rays and see how they are using oxygen. But some of them did not. So if people are having symptoms of cough, difficulty in breathing, it's much better if they come back to the hospital, where they will be checked and the appropriate steps taken by health practitioners.
While committees are being set up at the federal and state government levels, hopes are that findings from the incident would be well implemented to forestall future occurrence.
Joining me now on the News at 10 to discuss this unfortunate incident is Dr. Ridwan Lawal of the Department of Biochemistry at the University of Lagos. Dr. Lawal, thank you for joining us on the News at 10.
Thank you, Amara.
A really unfortunate incident that happened in Jos over the weekend. How could such a thing have happened?
Well, I think it could have been a result of an improper placement of the equipment meant to protect the chlorine from being exposed to the atmosphere. And really, I would want to ascribe whatever has happened to a backlog of inability to maintain the facilities at this particular water treatment plant. And
ideally, how close should people live to this facilities? Because one of the government officials in an earlier report that we had today said that area was not supposed to be a residential area, so she didn't know what people were doing there.
Yes, yes. To guard against what has happened to people out there in Jos, I think the residential areas should have been situated far off from the vicinity of this water treatment plant, knowing fully well that chlorine gas is a very poisonous gas. Apart from it being poisonous, we hear stories of it being used as a biological weapon in some of these countries where they're having conflicts. So ordinarily, exposure the extent of exposure to even partial leakage of these gas cylinders could have.
How would you know that? How would you know, for example, that you're inhaling chlorine? What does it smell like? What does it feel like?
Thank you, Amara. The smell, the domestic bleach, domestic bleach used around us in our environments, majorly the smell, that putrid, pungent smell of the domestic bleach. Yes, that's what you observe when such gas is being inhaled.
And then what are the symptoms? How would you know that you have inhaled it?
Yeah, the symptoms. Ordinarily, exposed people would feel this kind of irritation. Not only the inhaled, and both the ones that are topically get onto their skin, causes this burning irritation, as well as some gastrointestinal problem, as well as choking. There's this choking feeling that most of the exposed people there in Jos also reported.
Most of the people that inhaled this gas were sleeping at the time, this incident occurred. Was there any way they could have escaped, survived, even though we had a few survivors?
Well, if there had been a previous alarm raised by the workers in the treatment plant, giving us a notice of this leakage, there would have been a cause to evacuate these exposed people before it gets to the stage when they start feeling symptoms, such that would cause a lot of people to choke to death, as well as some other disturbing symptoms that we've seen on the screen, where people had this bloated skin, as well as some other.
How long would it take before the symptoms begin to exhibit?
Yeah, the symptoms could take less than minutes, depending on the exposure, the level of exposure, the concentration of the chlorine, as well as the closeness of those inhaling it to the chlorine. So that's why the more reason why residential areas should have been situated far from the point of leakage.
Well, Dr. Lawal, thank you so much for joining us on the News at 10 and shedding more light on this.
Thank you, Amara.
Dr. Ridwan Lawal is with the Department of Biochemistry at the University of Lagos. And when the News at 10 returns, big banks lead Monday 0.91% loss at the equities market, as analysts predict sustained bearish sentiments. We'll have details in business news. Please join us again.